no longer a simple review, it's a crisis summit. They must now agree on deep production cuts just to stop the price from collapsing further, putting them in a direct fight with their non-OPEC rivals. And for more on this, we're joined by AlShammari in Geneva. He's the president of the London College of Energy Economics. Welcome back to the programme, Yusuf. Now, firstly, how deep must OPEC Plus cut prices, just to stop this price collapse that we're seeing at the moment?
Hello, good morning, and I'm very delighted to come back to TRT. To me, it's kind of expected. The group over the past several months have been ramping up production a bit much bigger than what the market has been expecting. But over the past couple of months, the group has taken a kind of a cautious approach whereby the increments in production has been much lower. And also they're offsetting the non-compliance of many members. Now we are towards the end of the year, and in fact, this period is a low demand season. So stocks are normally expected to rise. And it is typical that prices would be at their lowest levels compared to summer, for example, when the driving and the demand season driven by driving, flying, and demand for transport fuels is at its peak. But the group has, in their last meeting, beginning of this month, they have taken a measure whereby they're going to pause for 3 months beginning of the year 2026. And I believe this is an important measure that should bring a form of stability moving forward to 2026. So yes, I would agree that there is a slight glut in the markets, but I don't think the situation is so severe that the group is going to take a cuts to support prices. In fact, they have been taking the other strategy whereby they are increasing their market share. And I believe this has been the consensus among most of the members. And I believe they'll continue with that strategy even next year.
And do you think this could be a sign that the cartel is losing the supply war to the US?
I don't think so, because U.S. production is already peaking. It's been stable at close to 13.5 million barrels, and most of the forecasts think that the U.S. production is likely to peak within the next 5 years, and perhaps within the next 10 years is going to start to decline. So I don't think the U.S. production is of any concern to the OPEC Plus alliance. In fact, any of the other most producers from outside the alliance itself. Because if you look at the World Oil Outlook that the group or the OPEC publishes each year, they see that the market share of the whole OPEC Plus alliance can rise up to 55% within the next 10 to 20 years. So they're seeing that most of non-OPEC Plus producers are likely to peak, and then they'll have a bigger market share. Also, if you look at, for example, the chief producer within the group, Saudi Arabia, they have a much long agreements with consumers like China, very long-term agreements. And that secures their market share. So it shouldn't be of a concern that non-OPEC Plus producers are currently rising, because it is very much short-term compared to the resources that the OPEC Plus alliance has.
Right, and lower oil prices are great in terms of inflation, but what would it mean for oil-dependent economies?
It varies among the members within the alliance. For example, if you look at the GCC, Saudi Arabia, UAE, and they have been, I believe, the best in terms of being resilient for the cycles and oil prices. I believe the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, in their recent statistics, the non-oil GDP has exceeded 50%. I believe UAE is even in a stronger position, but perhaps other countries like Iraq, Nigeria, and many others actually, they are likely to suffer because their economies they're pretty much almost fully dependent on oil revenues. And that means, but here is because also one thing also we have to bear in mind, oil prices are lower, but they are selling more. So perhaps by selling more oil, they can somehow compensate for the deficit that they can experience due to the lower prices that they're seeing now. But I still believe that the prices that we're seeing are not so low because if you look at back between before the COVID-19 pandemic, prices have been between 60s and 70s, especially for Brent. And I believe they are kind of stable right now compared to, and expectedly continue to be stable even next year.
Right, Yusuf AlShammari, President of the London College of Energy Economics, thank you very much for joining us here on TRT World.
My pleasure.